And finally, let's go to the New Testament because we're going to stay there. Go to 2 Corinthians chapter 7. And we're going to go through Paul's life a little bit. But I want to start in 2 Corinthians 7. So Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, Romans, 1st, 2 Corinthians. 2 Corinthians chapter 7. And verses 5 and 6. And I'm going to read this 5th and 6th verse in the New American Standard just because it pulls out with clarity this one word I want to show you. 2 Corinthians 7, verse 5. For even when we came into Macedonia, our flesh had no rest, but we were afflicted on every side. Conflicts without, fears within. Paul struggled with fear, but God hath not given us a spirit of fear, he told Timothy. That's because Timothy struggled with fear too. We are not to persist in fear. We cannot stop fears from being within. But he doesn't stop there. Verse 6, but God who comforts, and New American Standard rightly translates this word beautifully. Look at this. The depressed comforted us. What was Mr. Major Key? Mr. Stand against every mob. Mr. Get beaten with rods. Mr. Stoned to death and come back to life. What was he going through right here? He was depressed. Was that a sin? No. That was a common result of what he was going through. Look what he says before that. He said, our flesh had no rest. If you know anything about where he was in the most Roman of the Roman Empire. He was just coming from Asia Minor, where the pagan idolatry and emperor worship and everything else was so strong that he was constantly being pursued. So he was weary. And the fear for his life, which is a very part of our frame and our fabric, he was buffeted with those conflicts and fears, and he was depressed. But he didn't persist in that. What does he say? But God who comforts the depressed. He said, I am, but God who comforts me comforted us by the coming of Titus. Now it's interesting. This man wrote the Bible, had also mastered much of the Old Testament, who had written enough books. I'm sure he knew the books he'd written, but he was comforted by what? Another believer coming to him. And we're going to see that a little later, that sometimes we need the ministry of other believers.